Welcome back to Into Sawdust. In the second of this three-part series, we're going to discuss design philosophy for bottle stoppers. At its core, a bottle stopper is exactly that. It's a mechanism for sealing air or sealing a wine bottle so that air does not get in or get out. Like anything I make, form follows function. What do I mean by that? I look at the function. How do I want this thing to be used? And that's going to give me some parameters or boundaries when I do my design. I'll give you a great example. Doing something really tall like this, and you can go taller. Let me just zoom in here on some of these. It's hard to see against my shirt. This is nice and tall, right? It's probably about 2.5 to 3 inches tall. Think about how you want to use it. Are you designing this for a customer who may want to put their bottle of wine in a refrigerator? Depending on how tall the shelf space is, you end up with a bottle stopper that doesn't fit in the fridge, right? It can get too tall, particularly if you're putting it on one of those milk tray shelves or on the doors of refrigerators. For something like that, for that usage, this really tiny bottle stopper works great. It's a little tiny head, just fits in really well. So that's something you want to consider. You also got to consider how you're going to use some of these fancier bottle stoppers. Give you an example of this one here. You can get bottle stoppers that have a built-in corkscrew. Sounds great, sounds nice, convenient. But think about body mechanics. This one here is not designed for a good horizontal grip, right? This is a round, it's narrow, so you're really pulling out. Look how my wrist and arm are. That's not your strongest way of doing things. A better one would be a T-handle, like you'll see in a lot of the older style corkscrews, where you're coming across like this, and you're pulling out, right? Or you're pulling up. That is a better design. It gives you more, it's more biologically mechanical correct and easier on your body than trying to pull this direction out. So this to me is a bad design. I've learned I don't make these anymore. If I do a corkscrew, it's going to be one of the versions where it's a T-handle to make life a lot easier. Other than that, you want to be careful of if it's meant to be functional, you want to avoid sharp edges. You want to avoid things where you can't get a grip. This is pretty easy because I get really good on this one. You can nicely nestle your hand in there. It's got this other lip where fingers can go under. So you've got this top round over where my crook of my hand and my thumb are nestled in. And then the bottom finger here is underneath this lip, so I can easily pull up and out. So you want to again, think of what you're doing, how it's going to be used. You can make these things out of all sorts of materials and get very creative in your design. This one here is leftover maple I had, and I just basically put it in a Dixie cup, sealed the bottom of the Dixie cup, added resin, and threw glitter in the resin. This one here is basically colored pencils that I had. I just went and bought them on after the back to school sales. I bought about 30 boxes of pencils, and I've been working my way through them. Here's what the pencils look like in resin. Here's where I've lopped off the top. You can see as I've chunked this out into blanks. Do that. You can go with the acrylics. Again, I was showing you here, this is an acrylic. that you can get at the various suppliers. Those work really well. Acrylics are harder to turn, so make sure you have really sharp tools and take your time. I really love the Spectraply. They come in all sorts of different color patterns, layers of different colors. Here's a green, yellow, and red version of it that I've taken and I've finished with a General Finishes Turner's finish, probably about 8 or 9 coats, so it sort of generates a little plastic finish there. You can embed things in resin. Here I've taken a top of a cork and I've done the same thing. I've Dixie cup maple here, glued the cork down and then poured resin in. So now I can do that. I've done it with coins. You can do all sorts of items. It's a great way, bottle stoppers are a great way to use up leftover parts. This little is, I see Bubinga, I see some Cocobolo, I got some maple in here. It's either ambrosia maple that I've also got, and possibly some oak. I just took basically leftover pieces I had, glued them all together, and then cut them and shaped them on the lathe. So that's really about it for design philosophy, right? Just again, form follows function. However you're going to use, you intend to use, or the customer to use the bottle stopper, that should dictate whether or not the design, tall, short, sharper edges, rounded over edges, comfortable handhold. Again, corkscrew, easier to do the T-handle style than this style. So just some little tidbits there, keep that in mind, and thank you very much. I'll see you back soon for the third video where we actually go through the process of drilling out, screwing in the insert, gluing in the insert, mounting it onto the lathe, turning it, and then sanding and finishing. Thank you very much.